You are now listening to the Q&E Podcast.
Is this what you want? Huh? Is this what you want? Well, come and get it, goddammit!
What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Q&E Podcast, and you're here with your boy Q Hicks right now. And I got Edgar on the other line. Edgar, tell the people what's good.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Q&E Podcast. Today, we are reviewing Don't Breathe 2. I thought this was going to be a direct follow-up from the first one, and it clearly was not. Bruh. This had its own path, its own plot, no connection to the first one whatsoever. But I'm going to go ahead and say it. I honestly think this was better than the first one because it was just so crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's better than the first one.
I didn't think you were going to be on that, bro. I didn't think you were going to be on that. I thought you were going to say Don't Breathe 1 was better, but I fully agree. And I think this is personally my movie of the year. I've never enjoyed this much. In this an entire year, I've never enjoyed a movie so much. And I've never been so conflicted during a movie. Like, you didn't know if dude was a hero. You didn't know if he was the enemy. And then I love what they did at the end by not making him the hero, how he really confessed to his sins and then had to die. He wasn't resurrected or no shit like that. Even though we get the post-credit scene, which I think was some bullshit, which keeps the hopes alive that he's alive. Hopefully he doesn't come back to life. Hopefully he's dead. But I love what they did throughout the entire movie. I was conflicted and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And I might watch this shit sooner than later.
I don't know if I'll give it movie of the year right now. It's definitely a strong candidate because
ratings for this movie are terrible. Like 4 out of 10, 40%. But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, bro.
I wouldn't give it movie of the year. I still got Cruella up there. And after seeing Candyman, I got Candyman up there. Cruella and Candyman are like my two nominees right now. Spider-Man is going to be the best movie of the year.
That's
Granted,
true.
it comes out in December, like literally a few days before the end of the year. But Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be the best movie of the year. But if I had to go, I'd say Spider-Man, Candyman, Cruella, Don't Breathe 2. If I had to go in order, it's top 5 for sure.
And the thing about this movie, they kept the same essence of the first movie, but it was like a different plot, a different girl who was involved, different thugs, different goals at the end of the day. And then we seen what happened with the little girl and her parents. So much shit was going on because in the first one, it was so simple. 3 kids breaking in, the blind man trying to kill him, and we found out that the blind man is crazy as hell. It wasn't too much to it. But this one got way more intricate when it came to the plot, my nigga. So much shit, man, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself, man. But before we dive into anything, let me give you guys the synopsis. So it is: a blind veteran must use his military training to save a young orphan from a group of thugs who break into his home. Same thing from the first one. But what were your expectations coming into the film?
My expectations were it was going to be a direct follow-up from the first one. Even if it wasn't a direct follow-up, I thought they were going to pull certain things from the first one, and they didn't do that at all, bro. Like, I was so shocked by that. I thought at least the girl from the last one was going to be in this one.
I thought the same, because how the first one ended, it was the girl, she was walking away. It was her and her little girl walking away like into the train station. So I'm like, is he gonna hunt them down, or are they gonna come back to the city and try to rob them? I didn't know what they were going to do with that plot. And that's why I thought it was going to be a prequel, show how he got to this point, maybe how he ended up getting into that situation, how he had the girl hold up in the first movie. I thought it was going to be a prequel to that, but to get like a 8-year later follow up and it'd be a completely different movie. This girl, we just assume we don't know if it's his daughter, but we just start like questioning what the relationship is there. Like, so many questions coming into it, but I like the way they went about the shit though. I like,
because it's crazy, because I think the house that so we could just go ahead and get some of the character names off. The blind man, his name is Norman. The little girl in this movie, her name is Phoenix, and her parents are Josephine and Raylan. So when Josephine and Raylan, when their meth house blew up, I'm assuming that it was in the same neighborhood that his house was in. So I feel like that's why in the beginning of the movie, when he walks up on her after the house explodes, because that's where my mind went. I'm like, how was he just so happened to be out that same day? And I feel like the day that happened in the first one, where the girl actually got away that next morning, I feel like it might have happened that same day with that meth house exploding. But nah, that can't be the
What do
case
you
either
mean?
because he went to the hospital. He
Yeah,
went to the
this is
hospital
8 years later. This was 8 years later, following that day.
Oh, for real?
This is 8 years following the first movie. So this is 8 years removed.
Ah,
Because you see everything that happened. They try to give you the backstory with the little girl, how he found her in the burning building, and he ended up lying to her about the parents, how the parents were they were dead at that point, and he ended up just lying to her about that. But they show you the backstory. So he was just around in that area for a minute because we see he has a new house. He lives in like a completely different community, looks like, than he is in the first one.
he's still on the outskirts though.
He's still on the outskirts, but it was definitely a different house, different community, but he was still like in a rural area. But it was definitely different. But this is 8 years following. So it was no connection. And that's why I was surprised by it, because I thought it was going to be like the next month or some shit. And then we picking up with this shit. But this is 8 years later.
And how did you feel about him basically keeping the little girl locked up because she didn't know who her parents were? She in her mind, he's her father at the moment until the truth is revealed. But I felt like it was weird that he just kept her locked up. And the officer that would take her to town every now and then, I'm surprised she didn't think it was weird that you just keeping your child locked up like this.
And she did find it weird. That's why she tried to take her out, but she really couldn't do anything because she thought the child was his. So it's like, it's your kid. You gotta call the shots on what your kid is doing. Like, I can't tell you how to raise your kids. And that was the mentality that he had. But that was why I liked the movie though, bro, or loved the movie, because it kept you so conflicted, because it's like, damn, this ain't his kid, but you understood why he took the kid away from that area, because I'm assuming why the house blew up in the first place was because of a meth lab explosion in there. And that's why he took the girl out of that environment. So he probably already knew what was going on in that house and was like, okay, I hear a baby crying. Like, let me take her out of this situation because I know what's going on here isn't for her. But they kept you in the middle because it didn't give you hero vibes, but it didn't give you like, you know what I'm saying, like he was like a shit person. It made you feel both ways about him, because we still know him from the first movie that he's a rapist. Like, man, dude kills. Like, dude is a piece of shit, but he has a heart at the end of the day. So you really didn't know how to feel, especially at the end, not at the end, but in the middle, when you ended up finding out about Raylan. We see all the thugs end up coming into the house. And to start off this whole entire plot, they end up showing on the news that there are people that are coming around stealing organs from children. People from the military, something like that, are stealing organs from children, and it's a whole like statewide situation that was going on.
It's like a warrant out. It's a warrant out for a doctor too, like the surgeon that's working on these people and harvesting the organs. There's a warrant out for him and everything. So not to go too far of your point real quick, did you think it was weird the way her dad first stepped her real dad?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I'm like,
that shit was so weird, because it made you feel like it was like some creep shit, some rape shit or something like that. And it's just like, you her dad this whole time. Like, I wouldn't even believed you if you said you was my dad in the first place. But it was the connection with the hair. Oh, girl used to always ask, like, where did I get my white hair from? And he used to say, like, yeah, you got it from your mom. But she really got it from him. And once she seen that, she was just like, oh, I probably am related to you. Like, there you see the connection. But I was just like, why did you come up to her like that? It was so fucking weird.
Yeah,
bro.
I don't know why they wrote that in the script, because he's talking about, you look real good. Like, first off, you're in the women's bathroom and I'm by myself, and like, you're not letting me leave, and you sitting here calling me beautiful and everything. Like, what? Like, I didn't like the way and you're supposed to be my dad like 45 minutes later. Like, I didn't understand that.
That's what I'm saying. It was real sexual right there, and it wasn't supposed to be. It wasn't good at all. But before I even dive into the first plot with them running up in the house, how did you feel about the lady that she was running with, the cop that she ended up running with in the beginning? Like, she used to go to the park with her and shit like that. Because at one point at the beginning of the movie, I thought she was damn near in cahoots with those people who were running up. So how did you feel about that?
Until I realized that she wasn't, I thought the same thing. I'm like, I feel like something is going to happen sooner or later with her being the only person that picks her up and sees her. I feel like she's probably gonna keep her out too late or something like that. But you find out pretty quick into the movie that she's actually a good person. So I thought she was gonna end up being one of the people that broke into the house, the way that the trailers made it look. So that's why I didn't know how to feel within like the first 20 minutes of the movie.
I felt the same way. And once I see them, like she has a confrontation with like the four thugs or whatever, I'm just like, oh, so y'all not together? Because when she walked up to the car, I'm like, oh, we gonna see that they're in cahoots. But she came up talking shit like, oh, y'all gotta move this, that, and the third. I'm like, so y'all don't know each other. And when I seen that nigga come out of the back seat and hit her ass with the hammer over the head, and he started digging in on her ass, I'm just like, oh, so they didn't have any connection at the fuck all.
Crazy, bro.
And I thought they were gonna give her a little leeway because they ended up saying that everybody was in the military. So I'm like, oh, they gonna let her just drive by. None of that shit was given. So that shit's crazy.
She should have called the police before she even got out her car.
For real, because them niggas was already suspicious, and you already seen them before because she seen dude come out of the bathroom when he was following the girl, and she didn't say anything. So I'm just like, come on, bro, you knew some shit was up, and the dog, he knew some shit was up. That the dog's really the only person that saved her in that situation. I'm just like,
right,
you know what was going on. That's why I thought it was like a connection between them and the thugs. But going back to the point, man, let's start off with the break-in scene. So we see that the little girl is in her room. She's reading a story. I think that the blind man ends up going out that night. I think he wants to check on his dog. We end up finding out that the thugs ended up shooting the dog. And now I feel like that was a real big point last episode too. Like he was real protective of his dog.
R.I.P. Shadow, man.
Yeah.
Shadow ain't did nothing to nobody. I ain't like him in the first movie. I was like, yeah, we gotta knock this dog off. But in this episode, he was real chill. He was really like a family dog at this point. And you see that relate to the other dog later in the movie.
Yeah.
Because he spared the other dog life.
How did you feel about how skilled she was as such a young girl? Because when we see the people break in and she's evading everybody coming up the stairs, she's hiding, like she has like little spaces in the house where she knows she can hide. Do you give credit to him for putting that in her mind that you have to be aware of everything that goes on? Because in the beginning, we see her go through like certain training, like, hey, you got to be ready. Like, you don't know who's going to be chasing you in certain situations. You don't know when the dog going to come after you. Do you give him the credit or do you give her just that instinct?
I give both credit because she's really young. So it's hard to like learn and adapt to that as quick as she did. But with him, I give him so much credit because like you're blind. Yeah, you're older and you've lived most of your life blind. But to be able to teach a child how to do this throughout a house that you can't even see in, like you're really going off of sound and smell, like that's crazy. So the fact that he taught her all of that as an old blind man, I thought that was incredible.
That shit was crazy. Once I see her hanging on the shit, because when you see it like two people go upstairs at the same time, you're like, what a girl at? You see her hanging from like the side of the stairs. I'm just like, this girl an OG, my nigga. This ain't like you would have thought this wasn't her first robbery, how the shit was going.
And she know how to land, like she knows how to land really quiet and everything. I'm like, bro, she a spy. Like,
she got spaces in the closet where she knows she can hide even when people come in. You ain't gonna see her.
She made me mad. She made me mad when she hid in the closet and then got out. Like, just stay where you are. They already looked in the closet and didn't see you in there. Just stay there.
Exactly. So that's what you say. That's what you give to youth at that point because she thinks she has to keep moving, but it's like nobody knows you there. You're there. Like they're not gonna come back for you when they already checked that spot, my nigga. They're not gonna look deeper. But we get back to the spot. This is when the blind man ends up finding out that something is wrong with Shadow. He has been shot. So he comes back to the house. He hears screaming like he knows something is going on and that the little girl is in danger. He goes back to the house and we see that I think they end up finding the little girl at this point, but I think she ends up running into the red box in the basement. I think that was the next scene. Or did he end up telling her that?
The red box, it was like a safe or something like that downstairs.
What was the scene, bro, when my boy got his mouth glued together?
He went on blind dude Norman. He went on a rampage when he got back to the house, bro. He super glued dude mouth shut. But this one was smart. The other dude that was with him, I didn't even pay attention to the fact it's painful as hell and it's gonna hurt. But he poked a hole into his cheek so he could breathe still. And I was like, bro, that's some smart ass shit.
That was smart as fuck.
I never would have thought of that.
I would have definitely cut that nigga mouth open and fuck that nigga whole shit. Because you see when he actually cut his mouth, hella blood was coming. Because I'm guessing you cutting your lips at the same time. So hella blood was coming out of that shit. I was just like, I never would have thought about the side hole shit. Like that shit was definitely genius, bro. But we see. But one thing I was questioning about this whole entire movie is even though I know he has a connection with dogs and dogs really lead him around places, I didn't know he was going to leave like the house, because I know he knows the house, the location, he knows where everything is. But once I seen him later in the movie go to another location and he was basically knowing where everything was at, that nigga was moving around how he wanted to and shit. I'm just like, how is that possible? And you don't even know where you at.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I think it's just the fact he got used to where he was staying, like, because like he went like 8 years without an incident. So I'm sure in those 8 years you get comfortable. You're like, okay, I'll go outside now, or I'll just walk around just to walk around and feel where I'm at. So I feel like that's why he was so used to where he was at this point. He had a greenhouse and everything.
But I'm talking about even in the location that we see at the end in the meth lab, like that nigga was moving around there too. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like at the end, like we see him moving around. So I'm like, how is he moving around so well? And nobody was leading him. Like it wasn't even a dog by the ending scenes when he was going on a rampage trying to find the girl. It's just like, how are you working your way around and you didn't know where shit was at?
I think it's just because your other senses are heightened. So it's just like the sounds of you knocking against things. And I think we all have that sense of like when your eyes are closed, you can kind of sense what's around you. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's just heightened now that he's like blind and can't use his sight at all.
Yeah,
it's like it's like the same way when you know somebody behind you, like you can't see it or feel it, but if you know somebody behind you, you like, oh shit, and you actually see somebody. Because
that's one thing I wasn't expecting with the film, them to go to other locations, because I think that's what they were trying to keep with the first one, like keep him in one location because he knows where everything is at, so he can feel everything, he can hear shit. But once I see him go to different locations, I'm just like, oh, like the franchise can kind of get expanded, even though we don't need a Don't Breathe 3. It's like if this nigga can go to different locations and hunt down whoever the fuck he can, it's like this nigga is just Batman basically. He can do whatever the fuck he want to, and that's who I compared that nigga to. I wrote that in my notes, bro. I said this nigga was blind Batman, bro. This nigga be kicking everybody's ass. My nigga got mental issues and all that shit. This is a blind Batman that we watching right now, bro. He kills though. That's the only difference. He kills.
Yeah, he kills.
And he kills, bro. All right, man. Let's speed forward with this shit, man. So we get to the scenes where let's get to the truth telling scene. So we see that my girl gets out of the red box, and that situation was kind of scary in itself because you see that one of the thugs was putting all of the water inside of the red box. He could have almost electrocuted her because he put the wire in there, but the blind dude ended up saving her, ended up killing that thug, and ended up getting out of that situation because I didn't think she was gonna die that soon, but I was like, I didn't know how she was gonna get out of that shit because it was like,
yeah, I didn't know either. Once the door didn't open, I was like, I don't know how this gonna work.
I was like, that shit was crazy, man. But let's get to the situation where we find out the truth about the man, so about the blind man. So we see that everybody is in the greenhouse, and the blind man and the little girl are hiding. So the Raylan starts to speak, saying like he's not the man you think he is, like he's not your father, like let the truth be known. So obviously the blind man knows the truth, and he comes out, tries to hit Raylan. Raylan ends up hitting that nigga on the ground, kicking that nigga ass, and the girl ends up getting found out, and Raylan ends up telling her the truth. How did you feel about that scene, and how surprised were you with that whole connection between them?
I wasn't really surprised he was her father. I think I was just surprised at the fact of the meth shit, like the whole meth lab shit. That's the shit that surprised me. I was like, whoa, this is sounding real Florida-ish. Like,
because I was surprised because why after 8 years is this your first time coming to see her or coming to rescue her? Why after all of this time is this, you know what I'm saying? That's why I was kind of confused or conflicted in the film because damn, it's been 8 years of you just showing up. You probably knew where she stayed at the whole time.
He probably didn't know. He probably didn't know who like found his daughter or in his mind captured his daughter that day.
I think he knew where she was, bro, but he didn't want to deal with her until that lady was sick, bro. Until his wife was sick, he wasn't worried about his daughter. He was probably happy because you see that they cared more about the product than the little girl, bro. That's the reason that they wanted Josephine to stay alive, because she was the one making the product. They didn't care about that little girl. They didn't care about that little girl until they had to save Josephine. So it's like after 8 years, you finally show up to rescue her. Shit was just fishy to begin with. And it's just like, that's why I said, like, you don't want the blind man to be the hero because he's done so much deep dark shit. But he high key did save this girl because his parents were some piece of shit people, and they would have probably ended up killing her if they were in their possession. So it's like this shit had you so conflicted, bro.
You know another reason why they probably waited 8 years? Because she clearly wasn't the first person they've abducted before. And like I said, there was a warrant out for that surgeon already. Maybe they did the same thing with so many other people that it was to a point where it was like, okay, fuck, we probably need a permanent solution. And then that's when they thought, okay, let's try and get our daughter. Maybe her heart will actually be the permanent solution to where she doesn't have to continue swapping hearts with people.
And that's what the mother ended up saying. She ended up saying, like, I need a actual blood donor that's a part of my family bloodline, because like you said, they probably have tried everybody else, but it's like only you will most likely work. But the fact of the matter is, bro, and I wrote this down in my notes. Let me see.
That'll be the day I cuss my mama out.
That too. But I wrote down this in my notes, bro. I said, what's worse? The old man lying to you for 8 years about how you grew up, like he's lying saying that he's your father, like he's had you since you were a baby, or your parents that want to kill you. Which one is worse?
Oh, my parents. My parents all real. I could deal with you lying to me about granted it'll hurt, and I'll be like, damn, like you lied to me for 8 years, but I'm still a kid. I still got a whole lot of life left to go, so I'll get over it eventually. But my parents, like my true parents, trying to kill me, and you're not trying to, actually there's no good reason, but you're trying to kill me to like maintain your job as like drug dealers, and you're doing a pretty terrible job, by the way, because you're in this ran down crackhead ass motel with no power or anything.
That shit was great.
Bro, this was
that whole setup was sketchy, bro. When that girl woke up and walked outside, I was just like, bro, what's going on here? Like, where is this location at? Like,
and then you see Josephine roll up in the wheelchair in the dark, like
looking like Professor X and shit.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, bro, what? And she's singing the lullaby while she creepily rolling up on her. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what angle they was trying to go with this movie, but this shit was crazy.
This is why I say, man, was this the perfect movie? No. But this shit, I thoroughly enjoyed myself this whole time, bro. The emotions, my nigga, the funny moments, man, this shit was amazing, bro.
It'll mess your head up for real.
It will really mess your head up, because it had you feeling one way for a point of time, because she ends up finding her parents. So we get to the point where they end up burning down the blind man's house. They end up capturing the girl, and we see that the blind man is just outside. He confused, and he ends up passing out. We get to the next scene where we get the girl waking up. Her dad is there, and he starts to explain to her what's her real name, what's her real background. And then that's when we get to the scene where she ends up wanting to leave, but she ends up finding the mom, the scene that you just brought up. But I was just so conflicted because she was finding her real self. She was finding her people. She was finding her real name. And they were giving her so much bullshit, and to the point where you found that little, like the white stuff in the orange juice. I'm just like, don't tell me they finna go this route, bro. That's what fucked my mind up, bro. Once they started telling her about the shit.
Man, me and Denisha, I was looking at her. I'm like, babe, they not finna drug this little girl. I'm like, oh my God. Everything that you thought was too far, they did it. Like,
exactly, bro. Exactly. Like your parents who haven't seen you in 8 years telling you all of this shit. But once she started to explain, like the mom started to explain her situation, I'm just like, don't tell me they want
I was
this
like,
girl.
no, don't tell me they. Oh my God! And then not only did they tell her, but they don't care what she has to say about it. They're gonna drug her and do it anyway. I'm like, bro. And they're not even really paying the surgeon for real. Like, what? Because what are you getting? Like, you see their work environment you're in. You know you're not gonna get that much money.
And just think about that from a parent's perspective, bro. Like, you would rather kill your daughter than die. That's crazy from a parent perspective. You are most likely rather die than for your kid to die. But they were so caught up in the business. They were meth heads at the end of the day. You see, all the niggas was skinny. They just were worried about the product and pushing that shit out. They were not worried about the little girl at all. Like, their morals were all over the place in this film. Like, their morals was all over the place.
But shout out to the I can't remember his name.
The one dude who ended up saying some shit. Yeah,
Duke. I think his name was Duke or something like that. Yeah. He was like, bro, like I can't be down with this shit no more. Like this is wrong. Like we're trying to harvest kids' organs and shit. And everybody looked at him like, "Hey, bro, it's the job. Just do your job and then go home." I'm like, bro, what? It's only one nigga with a moral compass in here.
And this is another scene I want to talk about too, because I think this high key helped her transition into what we see at the end. So that one scene we get in the greenhouse where I think everybody was outside of the greenhouse at this time, but he ended up sneaking back in. The blind man ended up sneaking back into the greenhouse to protect the girl. And we see that the one person who was holding the girl, it was the person who got his mouth glued. We see that he ended up tripping him down, ended up beating his ass and smushing his face. And the girl kept saying, "Stop, stop, stop." I think once she seen that her father, quote unquote, did that, she was just like, damn, this nigga is a monster. But then we get to the end where she killing niggas and shit. She stabbing. I'm just like, did that start the transition into her high key becoming a monster or some shit? Or started?
Nah, I feel like it was just she was in survival mode. It's like she had no choice but to do that. With him, he kind of did too, but he excessively, like, the nigga was dead. Like, you didn't have to keep beating his.
Didn't she stab somebody else before she ended up stabbing her dad at the end? I feel like she stabbed somebody else, bro.
If she did, I don't remember off the top of my head if she did.
Damn, bro, because I put that in my notes, bro. I said, because this is what I put on my notes. I said, I thought she was going to be a monster too. I thought they were going to take it like the Michael Myers route. If you watch the Halloween series.
I know she thought she was gonna be kind of, fucked, because you have a very fucked up background. You either gonna accept that you have a rapist, kidnapping, killer as a parent, or two meth head scientists as a parent who tried to kill you as well. So it's like, either way you're going, you have a true villain story. Either way you want to go.
Exactly, because I put that down to it. Like, is she turning into a survivor or a monster? Like, because we see it in the Halloween series with Michael Myers. We see that once he gets to the point where he tracks down his niece, we see that the niece ends up killing people because she's seen what her uncle did. And does she have that gene because she's related to him? I thought it was going to be on some type of time like that. And it kind of was at the end when she actually stabbed him. It's like she ain't that same innocent little girl that we see at the beginning. Like, she's willing to do anything to save or to survive or to kill to get out of this type of situation. So I like that. I like that theme at the end. I felt real Halloween and Michael Myers vibes. I definitely did
too.
But
he had that dog. I forgot. Blind dude Norman. We was wondering how he was able to, feel where he was and shit. He did have the dog because
the dog wasn't with him the whole time, though.
It wasn't, but it got him there. Like, it took him all the way to the motel and then took him inside at least because he was like, go home. So he did have the dog. He befriended the dog because the dog was trying to kill him at first, but then he saved it and then it was cool.
All right. So going back to the mom situation when they end up drugging the girl, you know the type of situation that went down. The surgeon was about to do surgery on her. I had put, why are y'all doing all of this extra shit? Why can't you guys just find another cook? How hard is it to just find another cook than running up in niggas' houses, capturing little people, little children? I didn't understand the objective here, bro. You would think that they enjoy doing what they did because how hard is it to find a meth cook than to actually revive her?
I don't know. I
know meth is one of the most exclusive and hardest ones.
I was about to say crack. You can find anybody there to cook crack, but meth, you got to really know what you're doing. Otherwise, your house is otherwise your house is going to explode. Like, I feel like you have to, like, because that's why they don't really call crack cookers like scientists. But if you cook meth, like, they consider you a scientist. Like, you're truly like mixing chemicals for real to make some shit.
But we just seen in the flashback that their house was blown up, most likely due to a meth experiment. So you just seen your house blow up, but you want her to do it again? So she would have blew up that whole entire spot. So it was just like,
oh yeah, that was a test trial. They live and learn. They obviously lived and they learned.
That's crazy that y'all got all the way here, man. This shit crazy. But now we get to the point where we see that the power in the motel goes out. We know that the blind man is in the area. The thugs start to realize it's the blind man. It has to be him coming back for the little girl. The surgeon can't do surgery anymore. So everybody is like sitting ducks at this point. And the thugs got to go downstairs. And they see the blind man laying down in the water. Bro, tell me how you felt about that scene, about the touch shit with the water and all that.
That shit was probably the coolest scene of the whole movie. Because I'm like, even though he didn't kill all of them, because the last dude, the one that we was talking about with, who had the high morals and shit and thought the shit was wrong, he ran out of bullets by the time it got to him. So that was the only fucked up part about it. But the fact that he felt the vibrations from the water and knew where everybody was, I was like, that's the best part of the movie.
Bruh, like what type of military training prepares you for that though? I know he had military training, but they don't prepare you for being blind. So to have that type of sense of like, nigga, I know where everybody at just by the feel of where the water coming from is kind of crazy. Like, how you know 3 niggas standing there? How you know 4 niggas was standing there? Like that type of shit. I'm just like, how does he know this shit? Like, I know you hear niggas, but that shit just is crazy. That's why I was calling this nigga Black Batman. He was literally the blind Batman. The darkness is his friend, just like Batman. You see that shit, bro? No, that was Bane who said that. Bane said that shit in Dark Knight Rises, bro. I swear to God, this nigga Batman, bro. He a blind Batman, bro.
Stop calling him Batman.
Hell yeah, fuck them, bro. Because you see it in Dark Knight Rises, bro. What that nigga Bane said. The darkness is
like,
my friend.
You think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted it. I was born in it.
Exactly. This nigga the same way. He has adopted this shit, bro. Damn near can say he's born in it because he's lived with this shit for so long. He's definitely Batman, bro. Definitely the Batman. That shit funny. And what we get next? So we get to what's after that, bro? Because we get to the point he ends up going to save the little girl.
We get to the pool part at this point where they're in the
we basically at the pool because I think we killed some people along the way. Then we get to the pool part, and that was a crazy ass scene too because we see the little girl is chained up to her mom on the wheelchair, and we see that Raylan and the blind man going back and forth.
I knew they was gonna do some dumb shit. Like I knew that, bro. When I seen her mom just going super slow towards the edge of the pool, I'm like, they're not gonna give the little girl sense to just move her mom out the way. They're gonna just let her slowly just go off the edge. That's probably the only part that pissed me off about that because I'm like, how?
Yeah, I definitely feel you. I definitely feel that. It's so hard to think in those type of situations. She's just trying to think of, let me get these handcuffs off. It's just like, you can save yourself by just turning it.
Like, I'd rather her run into a wall. Like, because how deep was it? It was like, what?
Bro, it was deep. She died
that was like
off
an 8
impact.
to 10 foot drop.
Yeah, she died off impact. No water was in there.
Crazy.
That shit was definitely crazy.
She got shot regardless, though. She got shot before she even fell in there.
True. She did get shot regardless. Yeah, so she definitely wasn't thinking about just turning this shit. She was just like, I got to get off this lady because if this lady go down there, I'm dead too type shit. So we see that the Raylan and the blind man going back and forth, beating each other up. But I will say this, bro. That last kill was OP when the blind man ended up killing Raylan and putting the thumbs in his eyes. And what he ended up saying, he was like, "Oh, now you're gonna feel how
what I see."
Yeah, I was like, that shit was so fire, my nigga. Oh my god, that last kill was so OP.
The fact that he didn't kill him though.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The fact that he wasn't dead and he can still know where shit was at, and he still ended up stabbing the blind man again before the girl ended up killing him with the sword. I'm just like, bruh. That ending was crazy, bro. I don't care what nobody say. That ending was crazy. And then we get to the point where he ends up starting, the blind man starts to confess what he's done. Because at the end, it's like, okay, you're high-key my father again. Even though you've lied to me, you're better than these people who are my biological parents. You're still my father. I look at you as my father. And he said, no, don't come back. I'm a rapist. Like, I'm a murderer. I've done bad things. Like, I'm not a good influence for you. And we see that even though he said all of that, like, she was still walking toward him. Like, man, I don't give a fuck about any of that. You still have looked out for me for all of these years and try to protect me. But he was like, no, you got to get out of here. You got to go. You got to go. And we see she ends up running out of the pool or that little warehouse motel. And she ends up going to the convent. What was it called? The convent nursery home.
Damn, it wasn't an orphanage, but it was just like a children's home.
Yeah, we see her going through the convent children's home, and they ask her what her name is. She said, "My name is Phoenix."
Because she's wanted friends this whole time. Like I said a few minutes ago, it's like he kept her in the house all her life, and she never was allowed really to have other kid friends. So that was something she was longing for the entire movie.
Yeah, and I'm glad she got that. But you know what I thought about at the end, bro? Because I didn't know what her name was at first. I don't remember them saying her name at the beginning, like her name was Phoenix. Like, I don't remember that at all. But when she said her name was Phoenix, I immediately thought X-Men. I'm like, are they gonna spin this shit into a whole X-Men Phoenix shit? I'm like, where are we going here? Where are we going?
I don't
I
know
swear
why
to
you
God,
thought
I wrote that
that.
in my notes. I'm like, are we going X-Men around here? I don't know where this they can branch off of Don't Breathe and go X-Men. What are we doing here? Marvel coming up? I don't
Hey,
know.
that
I
would
don't
have
know.
been the most like I would have gave it if it would have did that. I would have gave it movie of the year because that would have been the most original crossover idea I've ever would have seen. That would have been crazy.
Bro, that's immediately what I thought of. She's like Phoenix. I'm like, Phoenix? Why would you call yourself that? I was like, she definitely talking X-Men. She definitely Jean Grey.
But Phoenix rise from the ashes because that's usually what the bird is, the bird of fire and rise from the ashes and everything. So I get it.
Yeah, man. But I love this shit, man. But what was some of your favorite themes, favorite scenes, favorite characters?
I say my favorite theme about the movie was there's always room to grow and you can always become a better person. So with the blind man, that's definitely what it was. Yeah, like you can say him raping people is unforgivable, him killing people is unforgivable, but as long as you as yourself, if you can forgive yourself and try to be better in any type of way, then that's what's important. And that's what he did with raising Phoenix. He was like, look, I've done X, Y, and Z. I still should probably never be a trusted individual, but let me do this one thing right and raise this girl. So.
But do you think that was his intentions the whole time? Because we see it in Don't Breathe 1 that he just wanted a little girl to replace who he had ended up losing, like his real actual daughter. That's why the first girl holed up in the first movie. That's why she was there to birth his daughter. And that's probably why he ended up capturing the girl in this movie, because he wanted that daughter presence. So was it always to protect her, or was it to just have a daughter once again?
It was probably both. It was probably both. But that's what I'm saying. It's like it was for his benefit, but he was also saving her at the same time. So
He was.
It could be you use that for your own game, but he still tried to do some good.
And that's why I said that's why I like the dichotomy of shit, because it left you still not liking the end character. And that's why they really put it like right in your face with the confession. Like, he's still this type of nigga, even though you're looking at him like a hero right now because he saved the girl. He still has done all of this shit in the past two movies. Like, do not forget that shit. He's not a good nigga. So I'm glad they really put that in your face so you don't forget that shit. But
bro, this is the year of the villains, bro. For real. Because you see, we love Loki with all the Marvel stuff. Wanda is turning into a villain, kinda, and we're gonna love that. Candyman, with the way they had all the Black History shit. We'll do a Candyman review for y'all too. But the way they influenced all the Black History shit into this movie with Candyman, it's like we're loving all of these villains. And now even with him, it's like, even though we don't love him, it's like we were rooting for him throughout the entire movie. So this is the year of the villains for sure.
Yeah, man, it really left you on edge. Really left you like not knowing how you should feel about the blind man. You see that he could possibly be dead at this point, but you get the post-credit scene that's leaving hope that he could still be alive. But do you think there should be a Don't Breathe 3?
No, he needs to be dead. If they find a way to bring him back, Don't Breathe 3 is going to be trash. Like, it's going to be trash just off of the fact that this man isn't supposed to be alive. So I'm just not going to take anything serious.
It's going to be trash. I think you guys should leave off on a high. I think this movie is a high. I love this movie. 1 and 2, this might go down as one of the best horror series of all time, or like sleeper horror series, because you don't hear a lot of people bring up Don't Breathe when it comes to like great horror series. But this is definitely one.
It's original, it's suspenseful, and both had very good endings. Like, that's hard. To do that hard. 2 times, that's hard.
Yeah, bro. So this is definitely up there when it comes to good to great horror series, suspense series, drama series, bro. It's definitely up there for me. And like I said, once again, even though this is not the perfect movie, you can poke holes in it all you want. I don't give a fuck. This is my movie of the year just off the enjoyment and me being so conflicted throughout the movie, not knowing how to feel. I just really love this shit.
And one thing I want to say when it comes to horror movies, I think people look at it as if it's not just super scary, then it's not a good horror movie. And I'm like, no, there's so much that goes into it. Like, does it fuck with your mind? Like, is the production of the movie good? Does the plot make sense? Like, I feel all of that goes with horror movies nowadays, because like remember the last, not the last exorcism, but the last Conjuring that they made, Conjuring 3. A lot of people said that was trash. It wasn't all that great, but it wasn't trash because the plot made sense. The horror may not have gotten everybody like how we wanted, but it was scary enough and the plot was good enough. And I feel like Don't Breathe 2 is the same way. You could poke holes in it, but nobody can walk out of that movie and say it was predictable. Nobody can walk out and say it wasn't good because you didn't see any of that coming at all.
At the fuck off. I walked in thinking it was a prequel and I got that shit, man. I was completely throwing off my radar, man. I agree with your theme. What was your favorite scene from the film?
The water scene where they stepped on the water. He knew what it was automatically. Oh, and the super glue over the mouth. That shit was raw. Like
super glue over the mouth.
I've never seen nobody ever do that. Like that was some military shit. That was some military thinking with that. Yeah. I've never seen that.
Because you see that he put that shit over his skin. And he heard that nigga come in. He was like, "Oh yeah, I got something for your ass, nigga." Took the top off. I got something for your ass, nigga. Damn, what was my favorite scene from this shit, bro? Damn. It was that scene, bro, where it was the first when the thugs first walked into the room or into the house and she was hiding from them. So you seeing the one thug come into her room and he lifted up the bed and the girl wasn't under the bed no more. You see that she is up crawling underneath the cabinet. Like she is up throwing like the watch in the bathroom so he can go toward the bathroom. And then that's when we get into that whole montage of shit, her getting on the stairs. So that was probably my favorite scene, her like evading the thugs when they first walk into the shit. That was definitely my favorite scene. And favorite characters. I know it's pretty up in your face. It's only featured characters.
I was about to say it's only really featured people. I'll just say Norman, the blind dude. I'll say him. He was just my favorite character because it's like I don't know how to feel about you this whole movie. So you're the one leaving me most conflicted.
Yeah, and I would say the little girl, Phoenix. I wouldn't be mad, bro, if they didn't make Don't Breathe 2 about Norman and the blind man anymore. If they made it about the little girl becoming a monster, I think that would be so fun. Like, what if this bitch just starts killing people inside of the children's home that she's in, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, but she learned it from her dad, or I don't know.
That'll be a reach.
I don't know.
That'll be a reach.
I'm telling you,
I can't go with that.
They can pull Halloween stuff from this, man. When the little girl ended up getting it from Michael Myers, they can pull it from that.
It's gonna lose its value, bro. The moment you look at it and say, yeah, they got this from here, like it's downhill from there. That's what's been making it so raw because there's literally no other movie like this.
That's true.
Once I see, and you're on the third movie at that, and you wait till the third movie to start pulling shit from other people, I'm like, no, I can't watch it.
Yeah, man. But I definitely don't want to see the dude again. That nigga is definitely dead. And for real. And what would you give the rating for this movie?
I give it a 9. I'll give it a 9.
Like I said, nigga, I'm giving it a 10, man. My favorite movie. I gotta give it a 10, nigga. All the hoes, I'm giving it a 10, man. For real. And I think that's it. You got anything else on the movie?
Nah, that's it.
All right, bro. You can hit it with the social media.
You can follow us on Twitter at QE Podcast 1. You can follow us on Instagram at QANDE Podcast. You can follow and like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube at QAndSignE Podcast. And our Gmail is QANDEPodcast@gmail.com.
And you can subscribe to all of our podcast platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube, Q&E Podcast, and subscribe to my YouTube. Just type in Quincy Hicks into the search bar and definitely subscribe. And we appreciate you guys for listening. And we out. Peace.